Hello, everyone. Welcome to number 8 of our podcast.
Episode number 8. We actually just uploaded something to Spotify. Our first episode, episode number 6 is on Spotify. Why? Because the quality of the previous ones was not the best quality. So now we finally can be heard in a very high quality voice. So that's very nice.
Perfect. I look forward to the 0.00000 cents we'll make off that.
It's not about how much money you make. It's about that people can listen.
Along the way.
Exactly. Yes. So we recorded last time was about TNW. And to piggyback from that, we had a very cool visit of a speech that was about why startups fail. And today's main topic will be about
Failed startups.
exactly, and why. Maybe what they did, maybe some drama, or just why they failed. Some of the things, as we realized, are exactly the same. It's lack of money, lack of vision, and ideas no one needs.
In fairness, the ones that I picked are just so obviously bad ideas. It's more about how did anyone think it was a good idea?
Well, for me, I stayed kind of more of traditional routes, like mismanagement and stuff.
Cool.
So nothing dramatic.
As usual, you'll provide the value and so provide nonsense. Going like, look at this nonsense.
I mean, I don't mind. I'm actually looking for something more fun. But from the weird news, have you seen that Greece new 6-day working law takes effect?
I thought they had a 5-day work week.
6? Well, no, this is a new one. So some industries, they're trying to argue that it's going to lower inflation and because people will, again, like start spending more and so on. So this is like an economic decision. And I've read somewhere comments like, Greece did not learn anything about inflation through history, apparently, because the Greek Empire, I think together also the Roman Empire fell because of inflation. Because what they did, they had coins, and you know why right now on the coin you have these like ripples on the side, right? Because they were just
they would like shave them off.
Yeah, they would shave them off and make more coins, and no one would notice that this coin became smaller. So why? They just basically collapsed. The empire collapsed due to inflation. And what they do now, people should work more, and that is going to save that.
Back against that one because the Greek and Roman empires fell for a multitude of reasons. But
I like to think that this is the reason.
I think inflation is usually a symptom rather than the actual reason anything happens.
Fair.
I think inflation is the canary in the coal mine for most falling empires, but it isn't the reason it collapses.
I mean, of course, it's a lot of things, but it's just, imagine some industries now legally will have to work for 6 days a week.
Yeah, a 6-day work week is insane on its own, but also just no company needs that much production.
Probably. I imagine that if they have specific, I mean, I'm thinking like farming, maybe, or manufacturing, that is a very measurable.
Yeah, but in terms of farming, if you increase the amount of hours you work, that won't increase the amount of yield or land.
That's true.
Like, at some point, you just start running into diseconomies of scale.
And let's say, how much can you grow? How far can you go with this?
Yeah, the main issue is one of capital. Like, no, you won't have more land at the end of the day. You can't force it to grow faster if it's a farm, you know?
I imagine if they would like, okay, now we're done. Can we come back to 5-day working week? Because now there's no, like, we farmed the land. We gathered everything there is to gather. What now?
The one thing that nobody ever does is actually invest. It's always just like, hey, why don't you work longer and harder? Yeah, this reminds me of when a friend of mine used to work at like Subway in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be no one there. It was like desolate.
Mm-hmm.
But his boss would occasionally walk in and be like, why don't you just clean the windows so it looks busy?
While just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff.
Yeah, just to look busy. So at some point, that's what the 6-day work week will end up resembling. Work for the sake of work rather than...
I'm curious. They're probably not going to get paid more for it. I haven't checked.
The only way I see there being more there being more investment is like if you work on an hourly system rather than a salary.
That's true. Then it would make much more sense. Or if it's still a 40-hour work week, but then you work less during working days, like 6 hours.
I don't know if that's better or worse. I don't know.
Also, I'm not sure.
I like my weekends too much.
Fair. And another funny piece of news I found was that a lot of scientific journals were checked for. Yeah, you already know where I'm going. So I've seen some data, and as soon as the ChatGPT was released, and they investigated all the scientific journals and scientific papers, the words that are used there, like delves, crucial, significant, have increased like 4 times, 5 times, and the words like important went down like crazy, and that was the word that was used quite a lot before ChatGPT. So ChatGPT,
most human beings use,
which is funny, and because I right away mentioned to someone that you have to use the word important much more right now, because that's gonna kind of skip the fact that gonna fly under the ChatGPT scan radar. And they also estimated the minimum share of science abstracts with LLM content in the Q1 of 2024. And they look at this, and Britain, New Zealand, and US are the lowest, and the highest are China, South Korea, Taiwan, and Indonesia use ChatGPT most. Unexpected though, right? I would think that US should be number 1 or UK because it's English, but then you also understand that maybe the non-native speaking countries like China, South Korea, Taiwan.
It's great if you're not like speaking English on a daily basis.
So you would use that, which makes sense though.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 points I had. What's in your list?
I've got a story about another AI that's being pushed for like public schools.
Tell me. I haven't heard that.
Los Angeles schools hired a startup to build an AI chatbot for parents and students. A few months later, the company collapsed.
Okay.
An AI platform named Ed was supposed to be an educational friend to 500,000 students in Los Angeles public schools. This is me reading from the New York Times. In typed chats, Ed would direct students towards academic and mental health resources or tell parents whether their children had attended class that day.
Okay.
And it would provide like the latest test scores. Either way, it seemed like an interesting prospect, at least.
Digital teacher?
Yeah. But it's one of those cases where they're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. All these AI companies, because this isn't even the first one of these. There's another one being pushed as this is like Morehouse Professors is collaborating with a technology partner Victory XR to create virtual 3D spatial avatars
of teachers or what?
Yeah.
Why?
It looks concerning.
This looks like some old 2000 PlayStation game.
It looks like Second Life
or something. But why? Oh my god.
It looks like Sims 1.
Yes. This is terrible. I think we're some sort of regression, or like we're going backwards with technology.
So I haven't like fully researched this, but my suspicion is this is another example of academic just corruption, where
we need to spend money.
We need to spend money, and then like having a buddy in like a company, and then being like, oh, why don't we just implement this? And there's relying on the handshakes in the back, you know?
I know a guy who knows a guy. My friend does that. Let's do it. Oh my god, it's probably one of those.
It's also just...
But it doesn't even look good.
It doesn't. It really, really doesn't. It's supposed to be more... it's supposed to be more engaging for students, but it just isn't. A RAND Corporation survey from April found 1 in 3 public K-12 teachers nationwide have used AI in their lessons at least once.
Yeah, but like what type of AI? Not visualizing themselves as an avatar. Well, general, that's fine, I think. It's like, hey, grade this student or something, or check this list. I don't mind using some sort of AI or generate an image. But what I have issues with is like stupid avatars.
So 1/3 of public K-12 teachers also say it's an equal mix of benefit and harm to using AI.
Okay. I see why they would say that.
25% of teachers surveyed said AI in schools does more harm than good. So that totals up to 57% just thinking there's some harm in it.
But they don't know as well. I understand teachers that they might have an opinion about what it does, but I also think that maybe they don't know it completely. Everyone's now, an AI expert everywhere. So asking them if they think it does harm or not, and they don't know how to use it, I totally see how they would feel that this is, not doing not bringing any benefit and not doing any positive to the kids.
But it's part of a trend where like AI companies are heavily marketing themselves to schools. And it's competent at rearranging sentences and paraphrasing things. So I can see that being a primary use for it. The problem usually comes in when it starts hallucinating.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I saw that lately. I was doing some research and I used Perplexity. I love that one, and it always has a source.
Perplexity, but sometimes it just badly summarizes things, and it has no sense of like weightage. Like if there's one source saying something contrary, who cares? it tries to like hedge its bets by being even. But sometimes if you ask it, like somebody pointed this out, where if you ask one of these systems, is the Earth flat? It'll be like, actually, yes, the Earth is flat. And the reason it does that is because flat earthers are the only ones writing about this topic. Everyone else has a consensus that like it's not.
Dude, that brings me to my very interesting next point.
Yeah.
That Wired has published this article that is called Google Search Ranks AI Spam Above Original Reporting.
Yeah.
So this is literally what he just said. And they also said that this generation, they call it persistent AI generated spam. So even Google announced not so long ago, I think they had it in February or something like that. They had this, new core update. And when they released that core update, actually they did it and they said 40%, if I remember this correctly, 40% of garbage content that is spammy is now going to be now on top. But actually, the higher quality spammy AI content is now on top. And they said AI-generated spam remains prevalent. For example, plagiarized articles from less reputable sources often appear above the original content from established publications. Yeah. Also, many of the AI-generated articles are slightly modified versions of the original pieces, which actually is very poor quality, poor illustrations, minimal attribution, and it basically frustrates all the SEO experts and, industry experts who are like, well, this is my full-time job to create SEO articles, and then someone stole it, revamped it through AI, published it, which is garbage, and it's copyright, and it's number one now. Yeah. So Google has a response. Last point is that while Google has taken steps to improve the search quality, which is I'm referring to the core update that they released, the effectiveness of these measures is still questionable. The company continues to face criticism for just like not filtering it adequately.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The AI is really good at creating spam. So it's being used for that. And most of the internet, by the way, will do some sort of like analysis. Mm-hmm. It turned out like 90% of the internet is already spam.
Yeah, but like spam can be still human created, right? I mean, that's where the Google AI screwed up when it just started pulling out 11-year-old Reddit post about how to glue your cheese to the pizza, right? Which is also spam, which is also not high quality, but it is human generated. But we're talking about like, we're going to reduce spam that is AI generated.
That I would argue wasn't spam.
That wasn't spam. It was just bad quality content, but it wasn't spam. Yeah. But here's actual SEO experts who are not happy with it.
It's also one of those things where like Google is eating itself. Like if you publish an AI, it disincentivizes people from ever writing content, then the content will be based on other AI content and you're not getting anything new.
Did you tell me like the last episode or the episode before that AI cannot generate good quality stuff from AI input?
This is definitely an issue with image generated content. So the AI image generators, they freak out whenever you reinsert AI generated stuff into it.
Oh, because I thought that AI cannot generate, but maybe for text it's not that bad.
For text, it's not that bad. Yeah, but even for text, there are a few issues. Like you said, there are certain words it loves using, and when you tell it to paraphrase, it kind of messes up.
Uses the second favorite word.
Yeah.
And some people don't do the due diligence.
Not the as related as a word, because it's kind of just guessing rather than thinking.
Fair. That's a good point. It's like, what's the second most popular word everyone uses when they ask me to paraphrase an article? What's the third one? What's the fourth one? So it depends how much time and effort you want to spend to ask it to paraphrase it, and then you end up on some scientific paper research statistics on using AI.
We should move on to the next topic, the main topic.
Yes, about startup failures. But before, I have one more interesting piece of news, which is the Guardian article has discussed the advancements and challenges associated with emotional artificial intelligence.
I briefly skimmed this.
It's pretty cool right now when the ChatGPT released the Omni version for the GPT-4 Omni. They basically, now you can talk to it, it can see you, and it can read your voice, obviously record your voice, read your voice, and see, basically you through a camera, and then it identifies your emotions. So it identifies your voice, and it analyzes like, hey, what's your vocal tones? Is it positive? Is it negative? And basically, this capability is intended to make the AI interactions more engaging and effective, potentially boosting user satisfaction. And it feels like education, so they can basically have an emotional response. You like call the hotline and you scream at it, and it understands that you're upset. Or if you look at the camera, I imagine this technology will be used. Imagine you're on a Zoom call or a Google Meet call, and then say this person is 90% upset, and that's the AI what it can pick up. So of course there are potential risks like concerns that the user might form also like an emotional connection with some of the AI applications, like AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends. I've seen people, what they do, they upload, for example, their relative passed away, and they upload the whole chat history for like 10 years into this chatbot. Yeah.
It was like the plot of a Black Mirror episode.
Exactly. And now it's becoming even more possible using voice and using video.
Yeah.
So this is crazy. And one of the things they mention is algorithmic bias. So it highlights that ongoing issues with algorithmic bias in AI, that emotional AI, which interprets the human emotions, could exacerbate these biases if not carefully managed. So the concerns are basically the ethical concerns.
Yeah.
We also discussed that there are some ethical principles you have to look at when you create any kind of AI tool. Is it going to bring more harm to the students? Is it going to do something? But this thing, you speak to it, it knows your feelings, it looks at you, it knows your feelings. And I think that's insane, because we're moving into some Black Mirror dystopia eventually, where it's going to be faked like crazy.
My main concern is more about the operationalization of emotions. Like, culturally, there are so many differences in how people express emotions.
That's a good point.
I mean, you know Russian people, I know Russian people. You know, resting bitch face.
That's true. It's a scientific terminology.
But we know, like other European countries, they're always smiling, and that's just their neutral look. They might not even be happy.
That's true, but I also see that if now it's the first step of reading the emotions and listening to like the let's say emotions of your sound, because you can sometimes tell even on the phone if the person is smiling, right, when they're talking. So imagine now you're gonna add like a cultural layer to it. You're like, oh, this guy is Russian, and then your AI says, oh, okay, switch from unhappy to happy.
This stinks of the whole body language expert energy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're always just like pseudoscientific stuff, you know.
But not really. I mean, it makes sense. It's not an answer to. It's not like a solution or an answer. But I was reading this one book about an FBI agent who. It's like notes of an FBI agent, and in his book, he basically splits up the chapters into.
How to Detect a Spy. This one, right?
No, it was another one. I don't remember how it was called, but the guy, he was in FBI for 50 years or 30 years or something. I don't know, somewhere. And he was making notes. So it's basically a summary of his notepad where he wrote if the person has does something with the nose, and he's like eyebrows, eyes, ears, nose, hair. Body language, clothes. And he basically says, of course, you cannot give an answer. If a person comes into an interview or if he's a suspect, you invite him to 10 interviews. And then if 9 interviews out of 10, he came in and he did not wash his hair, it's like he can make a conclusion, right? But when you meet the person the first time, and he itches his head often, you cannot make a conclusion that he's nervous. He maybe just, did not wash his hair. So he basically gives this as a potential reasons why this could happen that we did not think about. But it doesn't say that, you look to the left when you're thinking or look to the right when you're not thinking or something.
I'm just deeply skeptical of this ever since I read how limited polygraph tests are.
Oh, yeah, but that's also, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's taken as like a lie detector test. It's so prevalent. People always like use it as the go-to example. It's become a life of its own. But to find out that the entire thing is a sham, but even though I do love the guy who invented it, William Moulton Marston, fascinating guy. But he had a lot of junk science.
You have to lie a little bit, especially when no one knows how it works, right? It's also was new technology back then, I guess.
As also, like, I would fail a lie detector test anyway. I'm constantly nervous.
I'm so curious now, like, how we would respond to that. But yeah, but this is still, again, AI at its finest, trying to imitate a person and read the emotions. I can see this being I can already see the next failing startup idea with this.
I can already see it being used badly by police
as well. They did that in UK. Do you know about that, right? In UK, they were basically putting cameras on the streets and reading who would be a next potential criminal. Yeah. Not amazed that 90% were like black people. And I think there was also a TV show on Netflix about algorithmic biases or something like that, and they basically said, of course, if you feed the database with the let's see who's the criminal, but who put the database in there,
already got a broken justice system.
Exactly. So like
broken data into it.
Exactly. So therefore, they put these cameras that were reading who's walking on the street if they're acting suspiciously, and they're like, oh yeah, every third black person is apparently, or every second black person is a potential criminal. So they would just ask them and they would stop them on the street. Anyway, UK was apparently the most police racist country or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm amazed. I thought the US would be, but apparently it's UK.
I mean, yeah, the UK police, just because they don't have guns doesn't mean that they're not committing constant civil violations.
It's insane.
I mean, okay. Moving on to the main
core. Yes, startups. Let's see which startups screwed up and why and how.
So this entire topic was inspired by me reading a Reddit post. I want it to be so true. It's one of those.
Tell me.
It's amazing. This woman, she posted that her boyfriend had an amazing idea for a food delivery service, unlike anything else.
Okay. Wow, what can it be different?
That soup tube.
Okay.
It's a series of connected tunnels and networks that deliver soup directly to your home. And she was like, he keeps bothering me, asking me to invest in his company every single day. Yeah, I have to read some of this. I had been living with my boyfriend for about 7 months. 2 weeks ago, he sat me down and presented a PowerPoint presentation with his business idea. I knew he'd been working on an idea, but he didn't want to tell me about it until it was finished. Based on his enthusiasm and his prior seemingly intelligent nature, I thought it might be a pretty cool idea. Instead, he presented an idea about soup tubes. The idea, if you can call it that, is to construct a series of tubes throughout the city that lead to centralized soup kitchens.
Okay.
For a monthly subscription, a customer can subscribe to a tube of soup, and a tube extension would be built off the nearest mainline tube and directly into the customer's apartment or home. Based on subscription level, that would determine the quantity of soup a customer could pour and how many types of soup. The tubes are basically the size of pipes, like you might see under a sink. But he insisted that it must be called a soup tube, not soup pipe. Tube just zings better.
I mean, sure, I guess.
As usual, the internet had some comments, My favorite one is somebody's like, you would only be able to subscribe to one type of soup. Because then it would mix.
That's also true.
The logistics of it are already insane, but I was like, yeah, that's really the killing factor, even though it seems like a lesser complaint.
I thought about logistics first. Like, imagine you have a kitchen. How do they know that this is your pipe, your soup, your bowl, your canister from which it should suck it up? As well, you have to cook it fresh or something.
There's gonna be mold in a week. In that, this man looked at a faucet and he decided, what if soup came
water? Here in my garage, I have this soup pipe here.
I like this man's energy.
Yes,
even if his ideas
should go to Shark Tank.
Yeah. The Shark Tank guy got bamboozled by a crypto investor.
Yeah. What happened?
He was like, oh, this is genius. It's the next level thing. And it was just it was cryptocurrency, but dressed up.
Uh-huh.
And he invested a lot of money in this, and the company fell apart.
Not amazed. Now there's a million crypto companies that are just failing every day.
It's just too easy to create one.
Yeah,
that incentivizes bad faith actors.
That's true. I don't remember how much, but if you go on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, you can see how many in total cryptocurrencies are created. It's in the millions, I think. Whoa. Anyway, so it's in the millions.
Yeah.
And which I want to actually talk about a less funny startup that failed.
Yeah.
It's called Juul Labs. There's also a Netflix TV show about that. So Juul Labs is all about vapes. And what they did back in 2020, I think, when COVID happened, or maybe even pre-COVID, it's basically vapes. You know how addictive they are.
Yeah.
And these guys, they were some sort of US university graduate students, and they were very curious how they can make the next vaporizer that is not that addicting. So that would be better than cigarettes, obviously.
Yeah.
But what they discovered, or let's say there was a engineering achievement that they could, in one vape, it basically could deliver 10 times more the hits of nicotine into your body. So basically 10 times more than cigarettes. And they were marketing this to, basically young people. Because their whole marketing was this makes you cool, and this is not smoking. And in the US, there was no regulation back then about any kind of vaporizer as a mechanism to patent it. So it was a insane situation where kids were smoking 1 or 2 a day, and it had a very easy switch, small capsules, tastes were bubble gum and berry and so on. And after half a year, some people who were smoking, all the kids, they ended up with holes in their lungs, and they were delivered into reanimation, into hospitals. And when the hospital statistics saw that this is happening because of holes in the lungs, they're like, why is this? And they started investigating. So it was like a police investigation. And they basically said it's because of the vaporizer. And obviously, where you ask the kids, like, so what happened? What do you do? He's like, oh, I'm smoking this. What does it say? Jules. And they were smoking the Jules vape. Then the company basically, they did not completely defunct. The e-cigarettes are much more healthy. They had a lot of regulatory crackdown later on because then obviously everyone caught up to what they were doing. They had a shit ton of lawsuits, massive valuation drop from 38 billion to under 1 billion. So 38 times the collapse, and they just laid off a bunch of people. But the thing is, the guys who were also leading, I think they sold off the company to some investors or big cigarette companies who wanted to cut, obviously, in it. So, but in general, the idea was not that bad. And the guys, they wanted to invent like almost a water vape, pretty much.
Okay.
But then they kind of deviated and went the narcotics route of like let's do nicotine.
That just sounds like a bomb.
In a way, yeah, but they wanted to invent that. But then again, business and money and where they were engineering it just went in the wrong way.
Oh.
You have another one?
Oh, sure. So this is the first actual startup. The previous one was a concept from a genuinely unwell man. So this was an actual company that got off the ground and was distributing products, and nobody at any point told them this is actually a really dumb idea.
Okay.
It's called Juicero.
Okay, I don't know about it.
Oh, excellent. It was this machine, and what it did was it put out juices. Mm-hmm. Like you could put it into a glass or something if you needed to.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, what would you price this machine at?
How much is a juicer? I don't know, 150 euros.
They were selling it for $400.
Why?
This machine. It does nothing special.
Okay.
You still have to buy bags of juice, put it into the machine, and it spits them out.
So it's not even juicer. It's just like buy a bag and put it in the machine.
Yeah.
It's like a carton box of like orange juice.
Yeah.
Okay. So why?
Exactly.
But like
you could literally just stab the bag with a Capri Sun straw and get the same effect, right?
So what's the point of the whole thing?
You ask them.
So, and they fail because no one like because ridiculous the price or what?
People often make like great bones about how stupid consumers can be.
Fair enough.
Nobody's stupid enough to buy this. Yeah, Juicero, like it failed within 16 months. I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. That's a very good runtime.
The company, which said it was searching for a buyer with an existing national fresh food supply chain, is offering refunds for the next 90 days.
Ooh.
Before users discovered that the machines were essentially useless, the celebrated startup attracted a flattering New York Times profile, as usual, and funding from high-profile firms including Clemmer, Perkins, Caulfield, and Byers, and Google Ventures.
Well, Google did not screw up the first time there.
Yeah, they make so many investments, some of them stick.
But that's what they do as well. I heard so many times when Google comes into like all these accelerators and so on, and what they do, they're like, well, I like your idea. It sounds very innovative. You know what? Yeah. We're going to buy you, or do you want to work for Google? And then they just come to Google and continue working on their idea. But now it's not the startup's idea anymore. It's Google. Yeah. So pure monopoly.
So, yeah. But sometimes you just don't know what will and won't work.
That's true.
People used to make fun of Starbucks when it first launched.
That's true.
And to the extent that in 1999, when David Fincher directed Fight Club, he put a Starbucks cup in almost every scene in the movie.
I did not notice that.
And the reason he did that is because he thought it was absurd that people would pay for coffee when you can buy it much cheaper at home. But he was on to, he was like, he was wrong about that.
Uh-huh.
It's one of the biggest companies in the world, and the Starbucks guy himself got the idea from visiting Europe and going to Italy and seeing how the coffee culture there, and just basically, well, I can turn like coffee places into a thing in America, and there's something about getting coffee delivered, getting coffee at a place rather than taking it home, making it yourself. That seems to work with the changing trend of American work culture.
That's also true. That's a good point.
What really happened was nobody anticipated nobody would have time to make their own coffee.
He knew how capitalism would affect the world.
Yeah. But it's to the extent that it was absurd. That's the entire reason there are coffee cups in almost every scene in Fight Club. That he thought it was such a sign of a consumerist society that he would work it into his movie at such a alarming number of shots.
Have you seen super off topic, but about product placements in movies and in TV shows?
Yeah.
In somewhere in Latin America, I don't know where. It was not Brazil, but it was some Spanish-speaking country. They put a place because they did not have ads back then. They put in the Star Wars movie a small replacement, like clips of ads of a beer brand, and it was called Cerveza Cristal. Have you seen it?
No,
dude, I'll have to show you. It's so funny. So basically the whole Star Wars movie, and it's like 2 hours long or something, 3 hours long. And sometimes when the Kenobi goes to like, your father left you this, and then they reenact it, the whole scene, and the hand that reaches into like some sort of stem or a fridge, and it takes out and shows the logo like Cerveza Cristal, and they do it like 5 times, 6 times instead of ads in the movie. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. So that was the placement of this. It became a meme not so long ago as well.
There was this is also taking us further off topic, but in Pakistan we used to get a lot of Indian TV, and if you think product placement was bad in US shows or in European shows, India has you covered, in spades. I was literally watching like a crime procedural, and inside the dialogue, they inserted an ad. The guy just literally turns to the camera and goes, "At 9:00, next show," and advertises Indian Idol or whatever it was in the middle of the dialogue.
But it was not like a live show; it was a movie or something.
It was scripted. It was like their version of CSI.
Okay, got it. Oh my god, yeah, but it's insane. But now it doesn't happen anymore. But it's another topic about ads and TVs. I think we have to touch upon that.
The audacity of advertising is definitely going to be a topic in the future. The one I really, really want to cover is how they're deep faking new ads in reruns of TV shows.
I want to listen to that, so don't tell me more.
Oh yeah, sure. We're going to cover it next time. But anyway, what's your next company?
My next one is called Zilingo. Zilingo was a fashion tech startup that was based in Singapore and once valued 970 million and considered to be a rising star in the Southeast Asia tech scene. Even though I just said that it's a fashion tech. So what they did, they basically just sold fashion clothes. Mm-hmm. That's it. And they used an app. They just started popping up like small stores, so not big ones, but like smaller, like a stands, I would say. And they failed basically because of the financial irregularities. So there were allegations of accounting irregularities, that they were like stealing money in 2022. So it's literally not so long ago that they had whistleblowers within the company that were talking about toxic working environments. The company's co-founders, they also were suspended and later fired over this financial irregularities, internal conflicts. So basically they got a lot of money. They had an interesting idea, which was, in my understanding, not tech. Now everything's an AI, and back then, they were a tech company. It was not a tech company. And then COVID happens, and then the pandemic basically stopped all the operations. They were stealing money internally, allegedly. The leadership disputes and toxic working environments. So this is really blends in very well, again, what we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation. That's why startups fail. Disagreements. One of the top ones was money running out, useless products, and this is where they were covered. But disagreements within the team, lack of vision and toxicity of the culture, those are the ones that really took them down. So very traditional, sales. Nothing crazy like a soup pipe or nothing
It's
crazy.
a soup tube. Sorry. Put respect on my man's idea.
And the next one I have, it's called Meesho. Meesho was an Indian e-commerce platform, faced significant challenges back in 2023. And they had basically, the company is an e-commerce reseller.
Yep.
Nothing amazing. It's your Amazon in India. And they said that they're going to be a reseller, but the business model just did not pick up, apparently. I think everyone uses Alibaba or something back.
There's already market saturation.
Exactly. So, and they thought that they're going to be disruptive technology, even though not really. And they had to pivot the initial focus, reseller model, into being a marketplace. And guess what? Alibaba and AliExpress and Amazon are all resellers, so they just did not manage to kind of do the thing they wanted to do. And they laid off 1,000 people, which is crazy. But I guess in India, you have the human resource. So therefore, they could do that. And they struggled with profitability. Again, very traditional, not as fun as your example. But again, it's just wrong vision. Pivoting the business model because their model did not really work out, and just struggling with profitability because of the competition within the market. So it's like the product did not fit, right? No, this is one of the, I think 42% of startups that fail based on that guy from TNW.
This is an idea nobody really wanted.
Exactly. He's like, well, no one does non-marketplaces. You know what? I'm going to do reselling. Yeah, so that's why Amazon doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It fails. Do you have another one for me?
Well, the last one is the mother of all bad ideas, Quibi.
Tell me. I've seen it, but I did not get into the nitty-gritty stuff.
I do love that the Wikipedia page cannot it literally cannot hold its excitement at dissing this platform. So Quibi was an American short-form streaming platform that generated content for viewing on mobile devices. It was founded in Los Angeles by Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman. The service raised $1.7 billion from investors. It launched in April 2020, but shut down in December 2020 after falling short of its subscriber projections. In January 2021, the Quibi's content library was sold to Roku for less than $100 million. The platform's concepts and failure inspired widespread mockery. That's the Wikipedia summary. Most notable thing about it is that people made fun of it.
Well, they filmed 7 months. It said April and locked since November, December. Wow.
Yeah, and if you can't make a streaming platform do well during the pandemic,
no, that's a very good point.
But you need to understand how unartful what they were doing was. They would take content that was usually filmed in wide angle,
okay,
and scrunch it to fit into a phone aspect ratio.
Okay,
and you'd be watching a movie, but the Quibi platform would re-render it in a certain shape. Yeah, so you could watch it on your phone.
See, what's
I see ads? From a cold perspective, I see what Jeffrey Katzenberg is going for. It's him saying, "Oh, this is how people watch most of the stuff. They watch it on phones. Mm-hmm. So the next logical step is to make a streaming platform that specifically caters towards the phone audience." And I'm like, I see the logic there, but it's broken in the sense that if somebody wants to watch a movie on their phone, they tilt the phone sideways. Nobody wants a movie entirely made in the aspect ratio of the average Instagram content. Although I'm sure Steven Soderbergh is probably working on something exactly like that.
I also made a few notes about what they did wrong is that bad timing, right? Because they launched during the pandemic, but that should have been like the booster. But also, it was mobile-only viewing model, right? So and everyone's switched to like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, whatever.
I literally have a YouTube, a Chromecast, just to not watch stuff on the phone.
Yeah, and
to run apps on my TV.
Exactly, and I imagine watching movies for like 3 hours on your phone without like even being able to tilt it with the not very high quality. So it's also a UX maybe issue that did not really work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, I have a joke to end this. Do you have a joke?
I do not have a joke, sadly.
No? Oh, I'll tell you one.
Sure.
The joke I have is, why did the AI chatbot get fired from its job? Because it couldn't stop showing its emotion.
Well, I was going to tell one about the... I was going to tell you a joke about a real dad joke, the classic kind. But
Nothing.
I've got nothing. Yeah,
that's fine. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you have anything to share or if you want to reach out to us, please do that. Because some of our friends are already messaging us that they're listening, and that really, it gives us a little bit of a motivation. So enjoy.